This grand final, the final ticks are in and Rise has done it. Make some noise, Atlanta, for this Rise Nation squad that tops the Division A. The winners here in Atlanta. Incredible.
Alrighty, what is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 7 of COD Talks. I am your host, Furs95. Lots to talk about today, but first and foremost, I just wanted to get things started with Week 7 of Division B of the Pro League. Lots of great matches, as always. Lots of good action. A lot of storylines in this division. I think more so than Division A, just because there's a lot of bubble teams in this division as to who makes the playoffs, who gets relegated. So, lots to talk about with this division. But in case you guys missed it, let me just go ahead and give you guys a quick recap as to what the current standings are with Division B. So in first place, we have Luminosity Gaming at a 9-2 record with a 30-13 map count. Second place, we have FaZe Clan with a 8-2 record and a 27-11 map count. Number 3, we have Team Envy at a 7-4 record with a 22-19 map count. In fourth, we have Evil Geniuses with a 5-5 record and a 17-21 map count. Number 5, we have Unilad at a 5-5 record and a 21-23 map count. In sixth, we have Splice at 4-6 record with a 21-20 map count. In seventh, we have E-United with a 4-7 record, a 19-24 map count. And at 8th, we have Epsilon with a hot 0-11 record and a 7-33 map count. So, to kick things off, I just want to start by saying that, in this division, it's I would say this division is rather surprising. I would say there's a lot of surprising current standings in this division. I think before this division kicked off, if you would have told me that Splice and E-United would be sitting at 6th and 7th, I'd have called you crazy. And I think most of you guys would agree with that. I mean, these are just two teams that have drastically underperformed. Given their track record, given their expectations coming into World War II and into the Pro League. They've been disappointing. And I think the most shocking one to me in particular is Splice. Splice is a team that, you would think, especially with the way the meta has developed, that they would thrive in this meta. I mean, between Bance and Jerd, they've probably been the two most underwhelming players up to this point. Their current form has just not been very good. They haven't been that sub duo that really I expected them to be. I mean, they're both players that are top tier 1 subs when they're at their best. I mean, they both have been really strong sub players in both Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, and have a proven track record. So we know that the talent's there with those two guys. In particular, Jerd is one of the best submachine gun players of all time, in my opinion. And Bance is not too far behind. They're both playmakers, and they've just been underperforming. And it was funny when they made a roster change coming into World War II that raised some question marks, because dropping Zero was a bit of a questionable decision, in my opinion, just because of how strong of a player he was in Infinite Warfare. I mean, at one point in the game, he was the best player in the game. I mean, back when Splice won, I think, Stage 1 playoffs that they won, Zero was the best player in the game. I mean, he was just unbelievable for a period of time there. And, but then again, they added Tommy, and Tommy has arguably been Splice's best player through World War II. So it's not that, that's not a roster change that I think has hurt this team. I mean, if it were this, and I think the reason he got dropped was from internal issues. So I'm not going to act like I know everything that went on there. And Zero has been obviously very good over with Red Reserve. And I don't know, it's hard to compare him with Tommy, because Tommy is more of an AR player. Zero is more of a sub player. So, I don't think that's their problem. I think their problem is like I said, is just Jordan Bance. They've just been underwhelming as the primary SMGs for this team. And I don't know. I think that they started to find their groove a little bit. I forget who they were playing the other night, but they had like a 3-2 victory over, I want to say it was Envy, maybe. I don't even remember, to be honest, but they started to find their groove a little bit in that series. But that's what this team's going to come down to me, because Mad Cat is a top tier AR. We all know Mad Cat has the ability to perform with the best when it comes to that main AR position. And then Tommy's been great. Like I said, Tommy's probably been Splice's best player throughout World War II. So when we talk about Splice, I just think it comes down to Jordan Vance. They've got to pick it up. They've got to be more consistent as that SMG duo. But moving on, other storylines from this division this week. The big one to me, the other big one to me was Evil Geniuses. EG had a huge win for them the other night against LG. They also had a big win earlier on in the week against Envy. Both matches where they were probably considered the underdog. And I think the biggest reason for their recent success has been Nameless. Nameless has finally started to, return to his former glory as that main AR. And that's really what's been holding EG back up to this point, is that, ever since the role switch, Enable was the main AR, and Nameless has retaken that role, and Enable's now more of the, I think he's more of the flex player. Him and Aches kind of switch off between, flex duties essentially on the team. But, Nameless has played very well this week, and that's really been the key to Evil Genius's success. Apathy's really started to find his groove as that sub, that really strong, aggressive main sub that we all know and love. Aches has started to show signs of improvement. I think he had his best event so far in World War II at Atlanta, and he's looking to continue with that momentum. And then Nable's been really strong, returning back to that sort of flex / sub role that he's in now, and he's been very good. He had a great week in Pro League, and he's been very impressive with an SMG in his hands. So, Evil Geniuses, like I said, it is far from over. They're right on the bubble right now. That if the division were to end, they would qualify. But they're right on the bubble with Unilad. Splice is not out of it. E United is not out of it. So, between those four teams, it's going to be a battle. But I believe that Evil Geniuses, what was so big about this week is that they beat two of the top teams in this division in Luminosity and Envy. So now that they're basically going to have total control over whether or not they qualify for the league coming in these next, I think next week is Division B's last week. So, they control their own destiny. That's obviously what they want. And it'll be interesting to see if they can close it out and ultimately qualify for the playoffs. And then Unilad, got to touch on Unilad. Unilad's been, very impressive too. I've been very impressed with Unilad's ability. Scraps in particular has looked very, very strong at that SMG role. And, Unilad straight up has just outplayed Splice. I mean, they've been Europe's best team in this division. Up to this point, I think they beat Splice 3-2, I want to say, this week, which was obviously a big victory for them. Unfortunately, I think Unilad has the tougher strength of schedule next week. I don't know who they play exactly, but I do remember while watching, I think it was Merc that mentioned that Evil Geniuses has the easier schedule next week. So that's, it's going to be tough for Unilad, but, you can't count them out because they've been playing very well. I've been very impressed with their form as of late, and interested to see what they can do next week as well. And then Splice, already touched on Splice. I mean, they got to get it together. It's do or die time for them, and we know they have the talent, but they've got to put it together. And then E United, I mean, once again, E United is a team that, even though they have had some success recently in the Pro League, I think they had, I don't know what their record was this week in particular, but I know they had a few key wins this week. So, they're not totally out of it. Alec in particular, Arcides, has been phenomenal this week. He's really coming to his own at that flex position. And Clayster as well. Clayster has continued to prove to everyone that he still is, capable of being a top AR in this game. The biggest disappointment by far on United is Prasini. He's just been really disappointing. Really has been struggling to put up numbers as that SMG role. He's consistently going pretty heavily negative in the hard points. He just doesn't seem to have an understanding of this game. I mean, it's just simple as that. He just seems to be, not playing aggressively in an intelligent manner. You look at a guy like, compare him to a guy like TJ Haley. TJ Haley is an incredibly aggressive SMG, but he is I think he's much more intelligent and smart in the way he, asserts his aggressiveness onto other teams. And, Prasini just seems like he's just running around with a chicken with his head cut off the whole time. So, he's really just got to reevaluate his game and, get a better understanding for how this game is meant to be played, because right now it's just not working for him. And, I think that this team, there's no doubt in my mind this team's going to break up. It's only a matter of time. There's role clashes on this team. That I just don't think they enjoy playing together with one another too much anymore. They've just been through so much, and they're just a team fighting for their, just playing for pride at this point. And I think they still technically have a chance to qualify, but I don't expect too much. They're just so drastically inconsistent right now, and it'll be tough for them. But other than that, that's really all I wanted to touch on as far as Division B goes this week. I was impressed with FaZe. FaZe has had, FaZe is potentially in position to overtake that number 1 spot from Luminosity. I've been very impressed with FaZe this week. I think Replays has started to step it up at that main AR role, and he's been beginning to put up some pretty strong numbers in terms of KD and just slaying in general. Really impressed with FaZe. Envy has seemed to kind of regress a little bit. They haven't had a very good week. They had a pretty strong Atlanta, finishing 4th, and they've seemed to have regressed a little bit. But then again, I think they were trying new things out against EG in that matchup at the beginning of the week. So Envy, I wouldn't be too worried if I were an Envy fan from this week. I think that so long as they qualify and continue to progress, I think they're in a pretty good position heading into playoffs. With that said, guys, I think that's going to do it for Division B. And with that, I want to segue on to the Activision-Blizzard update. So if you guys didn't see, there was an article posted over on the Esports Observer. And it basically was Activision announcing that they have made 3 hires within their esports division. And the main point of these hires, obviously, is just to grow their esports division. And, obviously Call of Duty falls into their esports division. The CWL is a part of Activision-Blizzard. And, obviously Overwatch is their main priority. Let's be honest. The Overwatch League has been very successful up to this point. It's consistently getting over 100,000 viewers. It's obvious that Overwatch is their main focus, and it's understandable. Overwatch is a game that's designed inherently more for the competitive player, and it's on PC, and it's just it's just a more popular esport, and there's just those are the facts. It's hard to it's tough. It's tough for guys like me who are very passionate about Call of Duty and want to see competitive Call of Duty thrive. But there were a few quotes here that I think that were I'm cautiously optimistic is the best way I can put it. I think that the quote here is nothing specific to announce in terms of timing and plans, but certainly thinking about the future of Call of Duty as an esport is a priority for me personally. That's a quote from one of the guys over at Activision-Blizzard. The biggest quote, obviously, though, was the guy noted, or the fellow that is from Activision, his name is God, I'm gonna botch this. I don't even want to try it, but Mr. V, let's call him Mr. V. He also noted that the company will give new consideration to further develop the Call of Duty esports landscape. Many esports insiders believe the company wants to create a franchise league in Call of Duty as well. And this is, like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. This year has been a rather down year. Viewership was not great at Atlanta. I think it topped out at around 42K, which, not great. There's just no other way to put it. It's just that those aren't great numbers, but I think that there is reason to be cautiously optimistic. This article is one of the reasons, obviously. And, going into, next year with Treyarch, Treyarch has been by far the best developer when it comes to esports. And it's cautious optimism. That's the only way to put it. That's the only, I think, real takeaway from this article is that, hopefully they give us more attention. We need it desperately, specifically within marketing. Marketing has just not been good for World War II this season. The Pro League has not been advertised well. These events have been not advertised very well. But hopefully the future's bright. And I think that this article does point towards potential more commitment to competitive Call of Duty, but we'll just have to wait and see. And but with that said, guys, I think I'm going to segue over to my next topic. And the next topic that I wanted to get into was the whole ERA drama. So in case you guys didn't see, the players on ERA, players representing ERA, Ricky, Pharaoh, Decimate, and I think Blast, right? They picked up Blast and they replaced him with Bevels recently. Unfortunately, these guys have had a rough few weeks because, with the whole Clay drama at Atlanta, and now their org essentially screwing them out of money. I have the quote here from, I believe it was this was a twit long posted by Bevels. So from here, he says, in our contracts, it was stated that we were to be paid $5,500 per month, but we would not be paid until the 4th of March, and we were to receive those 45 days worth of pay on said date. This equals to around $13,000 owed as of the 4th of March. So obviously this is not good. This is really unfortunate. It sucks to see organizations be able to get away with stuff like this. It feels like we shouldn't have to deal with this type of crap in Call of Duty. I'd like to think Call of Duty is a pretty developed esport. We've been around for a little while. And the fact that we're still having to deal with this type of stuff is unfortunate. I think that there needs to be regulations of some sort put in place by MLG/CWL in order to prevent stuff like this. And I'm hoping this is the last time that an organization is able to. I'm hoping they're not able to get away with it in this situation, but in the future, orgs just should not be able to get away with this type of crap. Simple as that. And MLG and CWL need to figure out a way to, stop stuff like this from happening, because it's pretty inexcusable. And, I think that it's really unfortunate for the guys at ERA. I'm reading through this article, and obviously at the end of this twit long, Bevel states that, if they're not able to, escalate this situation, by going public, they're thinking about, obviously if they're not able to get the money, they're going to seek legal counsel, and that's obviously perfectly reasonable. That's what they should do. It's unfortunate that if it has to come to that, but that's what you got to do as players. It's not fair for them to just completely not pay you. It's just for your service, and it's just basic it's basic business, and it's just not good business practice, and it's not fair to the players of ERA. I hope they get it situated, and I hope that MLG and CWL are able to put in regulations in order to prevent stuff like this from happening in the future, because this is stuff that's just not acceptable. It shouldn't happen in anything, in any sport, let alone Call of Duty. But with that said, guys, I think that's going to do it for this week. That's a little bit of a shorter episode this week, but as always, guys, please leave me feedback. Follow me on Twitter, YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel for new episodes, Twitter for new updates, and please leave me feedback. As always, it's much appreciated. And hopefully for this episode from here on out, the audio quality should be better. I've taken steps to improve upon the audio quality. I know the audio quality has not been very good, to be honest, and I apologize for that. In previous episodes, it's just I'm a little limited with my resources, but I have taken steps to improve the audio quality from here on out. So let me know what you guys think, and just any general feedback you guys have for me is always much appreciated. But with that said, guys, I think that's going to do it for this week, and I will see you guys next week.
Well, I'm standing